Hi everybody, welcome to NewFilmmakers LA Filmmaker Interviews, created in association with Movie Maker magazine. Today we have with us James Martin, who made an extraordinary film called Being with Elephants. Before we talk about the film, let's take a peek at Being with Elephants.
They're from here. They already know all the trees, all the plants, they know most of the animals, so they're very good at identifying that. There's a database for elephants that have names that are recorded. So they learn IDs and they learn a little bit about elephant behavior every day.
So, if you will, just give us a quick synopsis, James, of the film and what it's about.
Sure. So, Being with Elephants takes place in the Siena region of the Masai Mara. And it's this conservancy that's a part of the sort of southern area of the Masai Mara. And it focuses on these rangers who are employed by this nonprofit called Elephant Aware, and what they do to protect not only elephants, but the wildlife and the way that the ecosystem is sort of dependent on those animals, and what these rangers can do to prevent conflict between them and humans.
So what compelled you to tell this story?
A buddy of mine, Bud Simpson, is a DP and editor. He and I co-directed a program in Nairobi, Kenya called Stories Found. And through that program, in which we taught emerging filmmakers how to make documentaries, knew we wanted to spend some time together to create a film of our own. We were connected to the family that's behind Elephant Aware through my wife and a mutual friend of ours. But we weren't quite sure what the story was going to be. We didn't know if it was going to be a story about the family or about the camp that they're at. And we knew by day 2 that the story was really about the rangers that they employ. And these rangers are all people who live within the communities nearby. A lot of people who live in these areas, they'll see large animals like elephants or antelopes or zebra as pests. They see them as sort of this, how we would see like a raccoon or a possum, right? It's like they're around, but hopefully they kind of stay on their own side of the territory. And
because what would be, like an elephant might stampede over like their home or stuff like that.
Right. So they may cut through their property and damage a crop or damage something that they've built. Typically conflict can happen through water sources. So if water becomes low during a drought and the animals and the villages are all using the same water source, that can lead to some conflict as well. And so by employing these rangers that are a part of the community and grew up in it, they're able to then relay this information to the villages or to the people that could face that potential conflict.
You do a very good job of portraying the rangers as enjoying what they're doing, taking it on, I guess you could say, but at the same time, they have a certain traditional tribal way of being and identity. And do you feel that there's any threat to that identity by virtue of them suddenly becoming rangers and having to wear these uniforms and adopting this other kind of way of looking at the world that's outside of their, local viewpoint, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. That's a really interesting perspective. I think not, only in that there's a sense of pride in them being able to have this job, that then the money that they make by being the ranger, like the beauty of them saving animals is a great sort of byproduct of them also being able to make money for their villages and for their family. And by doing that and by offering resources to their families, that's only strengthening their sense of community within, their sense of culture, their exploration and reason to celebrate. And I think by having that sort of lessened barrier of resources, they're able to then further their cultural elements that they all love and that they all appreciate. When they get home, the uniform comes off and then they dress how they would dress and how they do dress. And so there's not a sense of, oh man, by me being a ranger, I'm no longer going to identify as a Maasai elder or a member of my community as much.
In terms of the filmmaking aspect of it, want to say, and I think I spoke to you last night about it too, I really appreciate the way you filmed it, the way you captured it, and the way you edited and revealed it in a way that feels doesn't feel like it's trying to be anything, other than revealing what is, where in other films I've seen about elephants, they're almost romanticized, and it's almost like they're these sentient beings that, know all, and I mean, and in this case, you felt the power of the elephant, but it had a very wild feel about it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we wanted to make sure that the elephants were comfortable with us around. This isn't an area in Kenya that is highly trafficked with tourism. So when we were in the back of the truck driving around, the elephants recognize the truck as sort of another entity that they're used to. Mm-hmm. And so there's not this sense of like them being startled when we drive up. They're just sort of doing their thing. If they see us, they look at us, but they're going to eat if they're eating, or they're going to look for water if they're looking for water. And we wanted to make sure that when we were there capturing these moments, that we were being true to what they actually did. Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to just use a bunch of, like you said, romanticized clips of them being super large and potentially aggressive or, looking a certain way. We wanted to show them in their natural state. They're a part of this landscape. They're a part of the fabric, and it's important that they stay that way. Yeah.
And you also, I think, implied or suggested kind of a generational aspect to it. You had that little boy there watching,
yeah, right.
And like, is he learning from them, and one day he'll be a ranger? You kind of think that in your mind.
Yeah, there's something.
Was he related to one of them? Or?
No. So when the last day that we were shooting, that's when we got the call that there was an elephant that had died. And so we immediately arrived, and there's a scene that's pretty graphic for the viewer to see, but it's something that happens and that I think should be something that people do see, and that's when an elephant dies, the Kenyan Wildlife Service will come and take the tusks. And they don't do that in a very glamorous way at all.
Do they have like a saw? They just go...
It's just, a machete, basically.
A machete?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so, the kid just lives in that area. And when we showed up, he had kind of walked with us to locate the animal. And it was really interesting for us to see that, because you're totally right that this child could grow up to become a ranger, or he could be so impacted by the fact that these rangers that are a part of his community are caring and loving for an animal and trying to figure out what happened to it, that perhaps he, if not a ranger, would be impacted in such a way that he goes out of his way to protect animals as he grows. We've been really fortunate to be able to screen the film over the last year, and I think that's really exciting for us to be able to show audiences a glimpse into the Masai Mara region, into Kenya, into Africa. The film is its own project, but the Elephant Aware nonprofit, they're doing this every single day, and it's just important for us to give a shout out to them and to let people know that if they're inspired at all to help, check them out, because they're just doing really great things.
Are you still involved with the other project?
Yeah.
Or what is up for you next? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah,
so film realm.
Thank you. So Stories Found, which is the program that brought us to NewFilmmakers last year with Shoto and Zumari, that is we funneled that under fiscal sponsorship with Big Sky Documentary Film Festival in Montana.
Wow.
And we're fundraising currently to continue to create curriculums and intensive workshops for emerging filmmakers. And so we hope to continue doing that. We're going to be at Big Sky in February to work with the Teen Doc Intensive there with indigenous peoples of Montana and the stories that they have to share, and I'm so excited for that.
Yep.
And that'll be with Bud Simpson and I. Bud was the DP on Being with Elephants as well. And then next up, I'm making a feature documentary on the history of absinthe. So a little bit different subject than elephants, but certainly a really interesting story full of folklore. I think everybody hears the word absinthe and they think of the romanticized version that you would see in Impressionist paintings or in novels or in pop culture now, where you drink something that's green and you start to see things. We're going to tell 3 portraits of distillers in 3 different countries that are still making absinthe, and what their lives are like, and then the history through them.
Oh wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah,
that's
really
really
excited
cool.
for that too.
Very exciting. Making films that are introducing different cultures, different peoples, look different, sound different, live different, is so important at this time. And thank you for making work that, you know, celebrates that and
Thank you.
reveals that so beautifully.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.